I'm Dave Kerzner from Sonic Reality. We created the sounds for SampleTron, which is a software recreation of Mellotrons and Chamberlins for IK Multimedia. And here I am with both SampleTron software for the Mac and PC and a real Mellotron. This is a Mellotron 400. And this one, we actually has a pet name. We call it the Mellotron because it belonged to Bobby Sherman. And reportedly, when I bought it years ago, about 20 years ago, we got it, and it was in supposedly baby diapers were stored in the bottom of it, so we called it the Mellotron. But we cleaned it out, and it's now a very fine smelling instrument. And a great sounding, the Mellotron 400 was perhaps the most popular of Tron instruments. But we also sampled a Mellotron Mark V, which is a dual manual version. Some Mark II Chamberlins that we sampled were some really cool ones. We sampled Tom Waits' Chamberlin Music Master 500. Neil Finn from Crowded House had a 400. Both of those used to be mine, so we sampled it and then set them up. And we had the Mike Pinder from the Moody Blues, his Chamberlin M4, which is a crazy beast with 4 Chamberlins M1s in one. And then the Chamberlin M1. The Optigan. We consider these all Trons. They're all these lo-fi instruments that have a certain character to them that is really desirable in progressive rock music or in a lot of pop artists today. Fiona Apple, for instance, John Bryan's productions, Amy Mann, all sorts of different artists use them today because they're hip and cool and retro and then of course progressive rock bands like King Crimson, Yes, Genesis. A lot of the sounds were famous because back in the 60s and the 70s, when you wanted to recreate strings from a keyboard or flutes or other choirs, the Mellotrons and Chamberlins really brought that. It was the first sampler essentially, playing it back from analog tape. Each individual key having a sample of actual choirs singing and string players playing. So it was a great way on stage and in the studio to just have those sounds without actually having to get an orchestra or have a choir sitting there for one song coming in. So here I have the Mellotron with the woodwind tape in here. You change the sounds with this little selector here. You could have 3 sounds in the tapes. Here, come here, I'll show you what's on the innards of this. You have essentially a tape on each key. And when I used to bring Mellotrons on sessions, I would, like for instance, on Amy Mann's Whatever record, John Bryan was in town and he hired me to come in with a Mellotron for that record, and so I brought my Mellotron, but I brought my samples because I just thought, just in case, because you never know with these things, and you always have to have a screwdriver. So that's the tool that you need to have on you. And what you would do is you would adjust these 2 screws here, which are the tension of the actual tape mechanism, so that it's pressing down on each key. It's actually pressing down on the tape on the head, so to play back. So if I'm gonna pull this thing apart here, and this is how you change sounds, by the way. You don't just double click on the right part of the screen. There we go. Okay, so check this out. So here, you can see each key as you press it down has this pressing the tape down onto the head. And it's rolling. A lot of people think that Mellotrons are tape loops. They're actually not. They are, 7 seconds? or 11 seconds.
It depends on the shape of the Mellotron, but I think that there's supposed to be about 8.
Yeah, supposedly 8. But it plays for 7 or 8 seconds, and it stops and springs back. So here, I'll show you a set of tapes that's already taken out, and you can see this is 3 sounds, the good old-fashioned way, and you can see the springs at the bottom there. Yep, it's a quirky thing. It's a contraption, no doubt, and it's no wonder that a lot of people like John Paul Jones and Tony Banks, who I've been fortunate to talk to about it directly, but you read in interviews, and these charming instruments come up, and they have this sort of disdain about touring with them and them going out of tune or just having to rely on it. So, but ironically, a lot of people who didn't tour with them look at them more fondly, but don't have to deal with all the headaches using samples. So it's easier to love them for their subtle quirkiness and out-of-tuneness, but not to the point where you have completely unreliable instruments that break down and are very expensive to fix and time-consuming and everything else. But that's what the real deal is. Also makes a beautiful table. So I definitely recommend, if you can find one, getting a Mellotron. But for everybody else, I think, including myself, I mean, like Eric was saying, I'm not going to take a Mellotron with me on a gig or everywhere I go. Although I did play a Novotron. We sampled that too with Kevin Gilbert. I played The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway on a Novotron, which is a Mark M400 in a flight case. That was pretty cool. But even still, even in a flight case, no matter how you dress it up, it's just nowhere near as convenient as SampleTron. Oh, let's take a look at another Tron that we have. This is an entirely different thing. But
if only you could go shopping at Sears and buy a Tron of some kind.
Well, actually, you can, or you could back in the 70s. And from Mattel, actually, the makers of toys, you have Optigans.
Did you get that lamp at Sears as well?
That's not mine.
Okay.
Check this out. You have grooves. And then different loops here. Kind of cheesy, but cool, and used on a lot of different records as well. Crowded House used it, Sheryl Crow, and all kinds of different artists. Smashing Pumpkins, the Optigan, and the Optigan works playing an optical disc. So it's sort of a similar technology. It was playing a recording like the Mellotron, but off of like a flimsy record.
I think I got those in my Captain Crunch one time.
So that's that's what we do at Sonic Reality. We collect instruments. We search for rare things that very few people would be able to come across. Certain places that they might be, L.A. or London, or and then sample them, capture their sound digitally, and preserve it and make it available to any musician who's inspired by those types of sounds.